Cherry Valley Recreation and Park District, which was our host on Monday for our forums in Beaumont. We'd also like to thank Mount San Jacinto College, which graciously hosted us yesterday in San Jacinto and today and tomorrow on the Menifee campus. All of these forums are being streamed live on pe.com and ustream.tv. All of these forums are also available for viewing on demand on pe.com on the politics area of the website. We have simple rules for these forums. Each candidate is given 2 minutes to make an opening statement. The question and answer session, each candidate will be allowed to answer every question. There'll be 1 minute time limit on the answers. We also will have a 1 minute closing statement at the end for each candidate. And now I would like to turn the podium over to our moderator, Dr. Stacy Searle Chapin, who is a political science professor here at the Menifee campus of Mount San Jacinto College. Stacy?
Thank you, and thank you to all of you for coming and to the candidates for taking part in this. Let's get started. Murrieta has grown from a small rural community to one of more than 100,000 people. It has been one of the fastest growing cities in the state and has many development-related issues. The city has also worked to maintain its historic character and is also working to build a veterans memorial. So let's take a moment to meet the candidates. First, here we have Amelia Reichner, a nonprofit consultant. Next, we have Gary Tomasian, a business owner and councilman. Rick Gibbs, a council member and businessman. Douglas Gibbs, a truck driver and columnist. Kelly Bennett, mayor and attorney. Susan Vombar, a registered civil engineer. Alan Long, a fire captain paramedic. And David Landrasina, a power plant operator. So we are now moving to the opening statements for each of the candidates. There are 3 seats open for the council. We want to remind each candidate they have 2 minutes to make their statement. Let's start with Amelia Reichner.
Good afternoon. I would like to thank you, President Rice, for having this forum. Hi, my name is Amelia Reichner, and I'm running for Murrieta City Council 2010. And I'm running because I mainly support the Murrieta initiatives. For those who are not familiar with them, it's a limit on term limits for city council members, a limit on compensation for the city council, and a limit on the salary or compensation for our city managers. As a citizen of Murrieta, I have lived there for the past 10 years. I have raised a family there, and I have friends and relatives who have come to the community of Murrieta. And things have changed. We no longer have that big housing boom. A lot of my friends and colleagues who had small businesses are no longer there. And everybody likes change, but we also want change that is prosperous. And I decided to run to make that happen in Murrieta, to be a voice for the people and to bring transparency of our city to our residents and our small businesses. As a former small business owner, I truly believe small businesses do make and shape our communities, and because they are vested interest in our communities, and also they represent who we are and what type of community we are. Not only do people live in Murrieta, but they also thrive and believe in our community. And also, I would like to see Murrieta develop more in the green business industry and also attract all types of businesses to our community. I see it as currently a bedroom community. As you know, if I talk to a lot of my friends, they're all commuting out of the city. And I just want to see also help that the city could provide via information to those people who came to Murrieta with those big dreams and those big homes and who are currently losing them. And I think, as a city, in a community that has increasing unemployment, we've got to come together and make things work for Murrieta. And if you vote for me for Murrieta City Council, I'll be that voice for the people and the small businesses. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's move now to Gary Tomasian.
Hi, there we go. Hi, I'm Gary Tomasian. I'm married to my wife, Chris. We have 3 adult daughters. We're 19-year residents. I am a small business owner for the past 18 years in the Valley. I have actually worked on a variety of committees and commissions, along with serving this past 4 years as on the council. Man, I'm really blowing this up, aren't I? Quality of life is the topics that I have worked on. Public safety, economic development, fiscal accountability, economic development. These are all items that I have put a lot of effort into, and this is what I will continue to work on for the additional 4 years if I'm elected. I have a proven track record as a small business owner, and I have brought to the council, and I'm very proud to have brought respect, cooperation, fiscal transparency, and civility to our city. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go now to Rick Gibbs.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Councilmember Rick Gibbs. 32 years of military service to the nation, 3 decades in aerospace business development, 5 years on city commissions, 5 years on city council. The 2006 vote of our electorate confirmed they wanted me to maintain our quality of life. I have delivered on that. We are the #2 second safest city in the nation. We continue to have a balanced budget while delivering all essential services. And more importantly, in March 7th, 2011, Loma Linda University Medical Center, Murrieta, will open up, deliver quality medical care to the region, and 500 jobs. Those 500 jobs will come up to a total of 1,000 jobs between 2009 and 2011. Murrieta is well prepared for the challenges and opportunities of the future. I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move now to Douglas Gibbs.
Good evening. My name is Douglas Gibbs, and I am running for Murrieta City Council. I am a constitutionalist, which means I believe in limited government. I believe that the role of government should be limited to protecting our rights and our properties and the necessary functions for the city to function. I also have been in Murrieta for a long time period. I moved into Murrieta in 1989 when I bought my house. I've been in Murrieta longer than Murrieta has been officially a city, and I watched it grow, and I've watched it grow so fast that the government was unable to keep up. And it's time for us to catch up. Because of my history as a banker, I spent time in banking as well as a Navy veteran. And I left the banking industry as a loan counselor, so I have some economic experience, as well as 13 years in the construction industry, which gives me a certain insight when it comes to building and safety planning and development. And when I was in the construction industry, and also talking to friends of mine that are still in the industry and developers as well, what we have found is that Murrieta has a reputation for not being business friendly or builder friendly or developer friendly. The saying among them goes, Murrieta won't, and Murrieta won't, but another city will, so we'll go there. It's time to change that. A strong economy happens when there is growth, and Murrieta needs to grow. And I believe that bringing in new business will do just that. I also support 3 initiatives that are on the ballot, C, D, and E. C for term limits, not kill term limits. We're talking no more than 2 consecutive terms. After a term is taken off, hey, if that person's that good, they can run again. They just won't be able to use their incumbency as a handicap, or should I say a crutch, to help them get elected. The other 2, D and E, limit the salaries and stipends for city council members and the administrative officials. With the recent events in Bell and Vernon and San Diego, I think it's time for us to have those initiatives in place as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Kelly Bennett?
Thank you. Well, good afternoon. Mayor Kelly Bennett, my professional background is 20 years as an attorney in business, real estate, and family litigation. The last 7 years of my practice has focused on my work as a mediator and arbitrator, resolving disputes informally. The focus of my service over the last 4 years has been responsive representation of our citizens and our businesses. I've worked very hard in the last 4 years to protect our city's interests through the recession and to strategically position Murrieta to seize the opportunities that will be presented as the economy rebounds. As a result, Murrieta has been deemed the second safest city in the nation by the FBI. Fire and police services have been increased. We've expanded health care and education opportunities, built 2 new fire stations, and increased our infrastructure. I'm proud to say that I am a doer rather than much of a talker. I'm proud of the accomplishments that I've been able to achieve over the last 4 years, such as founding Murrieta's first youth court program, creating the fast track planning program to attract employers and high quality businesses as an incentive, initiated the abandoned property ordinance, which requires banks to maintain foreclosed properties in our communities in order to protect surrounding property values, initiating negotiations for a 4-year university within Murrieta. I was proud to found the region's largest food drive to benefit a collection of food banks called the Heaven on Earth Food Drives. And I've emerged as a leader regionally in working with our sister cities on issues of shared interest and importance. I'm seeking re-election so that we can continue this important work and the great progress that Murrieta has made. I appreciate the vote of confidence I've received by receiving the endorsement of the Press Enterprise Editorial Board and the Murrieta Police Officers Association. We've got a lot to accomplish in the next 4 years. It's going to require strong leadership, and I hope to have your vote to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let's move on to Susan Bombar.
Thank you. My name is Susan Bombar. I've been a resident of Murrieta for the past 13 years. I've raised my kids here. We go to Murrieta schools, and actually my daughter goes to this school. And we moved here because the community is safe, and we really love being here. We've watched it grow from a city with very few traffic signals, no traffic, which I enjoyed very much as a person in traffic and transportation, and watched it grow to where we are largely a bedroom community still. And I would love to see, as I think everybody in the city would love to see, a lot more development, entertainment, and restaurant venues that we would love to enjoy in our city rather than going to our city sister to the south. Being in Riverside County for the last 13 years, I have actually worked in Riverside County in transportation and traffic for the last 12. I have worked for the Riverside County Transportation Department during the biggest growth and development that the county's seen. It was a tough time to be processing all that development. I learned a lot. I know a lot in the background, and I think it sets me up very well for the ability to make decisions as a city council person rather than just reviewing it on the back end of things. And also my experience having worked for the city of Murrieta itself. I spent the last better part of my life, the last 4.5 years, within the city hall walls, and I know the city inside and out. I believe leaves me in a very unique position and a good position to use my knowledge to improve what I know needs to be improved. So I would really appreciate if you would vote for me for city council. I do represent the actual residents. I am not a politician, and I would just like to represent you. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's hear now from Alan Long.
Thank you and good afternoon. My name is Alan Long. I'm a fire captain paramedic for the Class 1 city of Anaheim. I was raised in Murrieta, and I met my wife while attending Murrieta Elementary School. Currently, we are raising 3 children, ages 7, 13, and 15. My involvement started when my wife and I were newlyweds at the age of 20. We didn't have children yet, but we immediately got active in our community that gave so much to us as children. I was a volunteer firefighter. We were high school youth group leaders. We were counselors for abandoned and abused children. And then we decided to start our family, where we continue to live in Murrieta. We got involved in coaching just about every athletic sport or a board member, such as soccer, baseball, football, basketball, or wrestling. I got involved with the Murrieta Valley School District Sports Foundation when they were in a budget crisis last year, and there were 4,000 high school athletes in jeopardy of losing their extracurricular activities that would have put them on the street after school. In a short 4-month period, I volunteered to help them. We raised $80,000 to put those programs back so school children would have something extracurricular to do after school. I'm a former member of the Public Safety and Traffic Commission. I'm currently a planning commissioner for the city. In my professional career, again, I'm an Anaheim fire captain. I'm a planning section chief that serves in the Emergency Operations Center that manage large-scale events such as Major League Baseball World Series, Stanley Cup Finals, World Gymnastics Championships, X Games, and Disney events. Also in Orange County, the Board of Supervisors appointed me to a quality assurance board that made sure quality medical services were offered in Orange County, and I want to do the same thing in Murrieta. Many cities have started using a cliche of this is a great place to live, work, and play. I want to add something to that. I want to add this Murrieta should be a great place to live, work, and play, and stay. We shouldn't have to leave our city for quality of life found elsewhere. My name is Alan Long. My family has children, parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents living in Murrieta.
Okay, let's move on to the next person. Thank you, Alan. And David Landrashina.
Good afternoon. I started my adult life after graduating from John Marshall High School in Cleveland, Ohio in 1973. My biggest accomplishment there was an exchange student to Europe for 1 year. I'm fluent in Italian, read, write, and speak it, and I had 2 years of high school Spanish. After serving 4 years in the Navy, I got out, went to a JC, and had a minor in political science and a major in business. Went on to Baldwin Wallace, and then we decided to make our pilgrimage to California, so we picked up roots, came out here and laid down new roots and landed in Murrieta after about 1.5 years. And we started up in Sacramento. We were up there for about 1 year. And my elder son was born here, and I completed my 4-year degree at California Baptist University in Riverside. I started to say that my elder son was born here while I was in the Navy, my last 2 years in, and he currently has provided us with 2 lovely grandchildren who we enjoy every weekend. And in my work-life experience, I've worked for 2 Fortune 500s, the Ford Motor Company, who, after we relocated, called me and asked me to come back for a managerial position, which I turned down. I currently work for NRG Energy in Carlsbad, another Fortune 500. It's a wholesale power company, and doing quite well there, and the future looks bright there as well as for Murrieta, as far as I'm concerned. Given what we've experienced, I've been here since 1992, last 18 years. I think Murrieta's laid the groundwork for some excellent economic development while preserving our heritage. And just having worked with folks at the library, I'm uniquely aware of some of the preservation efforts going on there. So I've currently serve on the Murrieta Veterans Memorial, Measure Oversight Bond Fund. We taxed ourselves $120 million to build 3 new schools.
Thank you. Okay, this first question goes to the challengers. What expertise or experience do you bring to the city of Murrieta? And let's start with Amelia Reichner.
I've had the privilege of living in Europe, in Bern, Switzerland, for about 10 years. And with the cultural mix that we are now having here in Murrieta, and we have people from all over the world who live here in different languages and cultures. My experience that I have had when I lived in Europe, how communities were able to preserve their culture, their way of life, and also have new people come in and help the community grow and develop. And what I would like to say is that if we work together with the residents of Murrieta and that people who have a vested interest in helping these people by keeping them informed about what the city has to offer and what community services that the city provides, I think we'll have a better and stronger community.
Thank you. Let's move to Douglas Gibbs.
Well, the number one thing that gives me an advantage here is the fact that I've lived in the city as long as it's been a city. I've watched it grow, and I've paid attention to everything that's been going on. I do have a little bit of history as a parliamentarian in the PTA, but specifically, I have some unique skills. I have my leadership skills from my time in the United States Navy as a petty officer. I have banking skills, economic skills from my years as a banker. I left Navy Federal Credit Union as a loan counselor after many years of service with them. And I spent 13 years in the construction industry, which is where my true skills come from, because I spent a lot of time dealing with building and safety and planning of different cities. And I understand building and safety, planning, business license, development, and all of that from a construction position. And all of that put together adds to the fact that I'm also a constitutionalist. I have been studying government and limited government for 30 years. And that, combined with all of my other talents, should make me one of the better candidates at this table.
Thank you. Let's hear from Susan Bombar.
Thank you. My experience is actually fairly unique to this group. I'm a professional engineer. My experience that I can bring to City Council is that I have many years of expertise and experience in development processing. I, as I said earlier, worked through the biggest boom this county has seen, reviewing new developments, both commercial and residential, writing conditions of approval, attending Board of Supervisor and County Planning Commission meetings, and then at the City of Murrieta, attending both City Council and Planning Commission meetings as well. I write, like I said, conditions of approval. I understand the environmental processing that's required for different types of development. I understand the engineering challenges projects have. I can bring solutions to challenges that face developers, and I think I have a very good perspective on things and know what our city needs in that respect.
Thank you. Alan Long, what experience would you bring?
Thank you. I think one of the attributes I have is that I've grown up in Murrieta since early childhood. I can remember when Murrieta was just rolling hills. There is a deep, deep history rooted in Murrieta. And if we talk about protecting our heritage, it's important to know what that was, and I can provide that to the council. Also, I have a strong public safety background. Currently, right now, City of Murrieta does not have a fire chief. Their highest ranking official is a field battalion chief. I will bring that experience to make sure we run efficiently in our public safety sector. As economic woes strike in our city, the increase in demand for our public safety goes up traditionally, and that's happening in Murrieta right now. We need to make sure we can run efficiently on a fiscally sound budget in our public safety department. Also, the Quality Assurance Board that I was appointed to in Orange County made sure that hospitals maintain the quality medical services that they promised. And we are in a similar situation right now in Murrieta, and I'll make sure the hospitals maintain quality medical service. Also, I served on Public Safety and Planning Commission, so the learning curve to the parliamentary process would be minimal. I could jump in and do work right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. David Landricina.
I worked for an international consulting firm, George S. May, out of Las Vegas, Nevada. And in those assignments, I was responsible to go to local areas, small and medium-sized businesses, to conduct surveys and help them with their efficiency issues. And also, depending on how small we got, converting an entrepreneurial firm into a professionally managed company. With that experience, I left there and became an independent contractor inside sales manager for SRS Engineering in Murrieta. And I have unique experience there in having to deal with city permits and what have you, as we went from leased facilities to a purchase facility, and now they own 5 buildings and have moved into what the SBA defines as a medium-sized business earning at least $20 million to close to $200 million a year. So that's right here on the ground in Murrieta. I was also invited by Governor Schwarzenegger to visit China on a trade mission while I was in that capacity and functioning on the Inland Empire District Export Council. That's how I got that invitation, excuse me.
Thank you. Let's move now to the incumbents. Why are you running for re-election? And let's start with Gary Tomasian.
The reason why I'm running for re-election is that I bring to the table 25 years experience as a business owner. And as this owner, I have brought the discriminating eye towards making sure that our budget and that it is transparent, that it's line item, that it's readable, that we do have a balanced budget, that we do live within our means. And as a business owner, it's not just a living, but it's also being able to manage. So being able to take that and then apply it and bring it here to the city is probably one of my strongest strengths. The other important aspect is I have served on 3 general plan review committees, and with land use is key and essential to the success of our economic development for this city. So without a proper land use and without proper zoning, the city is not going to go anywhere. So I can bring that acute eye, and I kind of term myself as a citizen planner because I have gone through this a number of times. I've worked with a number of planners, and I totally understand the planning process and the ramifications of not doing it right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's go now to Rick Gibbs.
It's all about our citizens and maintaining their quality of life. We need to ensure that public safety remains first and foremost. We must deliver jobs to our commuting citizens. The mantra in Murrieta must be jobs, 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 because to have a wonderful quality of life, you can't spend 2 hours on the freeway commuting to a job in Orange County and Irvine and other places. Thank you.
Thank you. And Kelly Bennett.
I'm running for 3 primary reasons. The first reason is because the next 4 years, it's imperative that we have strong, knowledgeable leadership with leaders with the skill set that matches the job. I believe I have the skill set. I've proven that in the last 4 years, and I think it will only benefit the city to go forward. The second reason is because I absolutely love serving the city. It is a wonderful privilege, and I think it's important in our leadership that we have people who absolutely love what they do because it's reflected in the quality of the job. Lastly, regionally, we have developed some strong relationships. I've been privileged to serve as the chair of Western Riverside Council of Governments and will continue if re-elected for the balance of the year through June. And through regional partnerships, we have been able to make some headway in the areas of healthcare and higher education, and that is very important that we continue in that leadership in those areas. So that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, what would be your first priority if elected to the City Council? And let's start with David Landraschina.
Well, I'd like to continue. I think we can improve and do better on our economic development. I know for a fact that we have a highly engaged staff and council. They deserve the credit for where we've gotten today. Like I say, Murrieta has a bright future. But I would like to lend my expertise and finish what I started back in 2001 when I was the lone voice talking about our, what we used to refer to it as the Domenegoni Dam, and now it's Diamond Valley Lake, the largest reservoir in California, the size of all the reservoirs combined and then some in the state. And now Edison is getting ready to add 500 megawatts of additional power. And where I'm going with that is water and power are the building blocks for economic development. And junior colleges, such as this one, will play a major role in providing education for the technologies and the new technologies businesses that will come to our area. I know in Cleveland, as a matter of fact, a community college played a major role in revamping from what we used to call the Rust Belt into what is now a new Silicon Valley south of Cleveland.
Thank you. Gary Tomasian, what would be your first priority?
My first priority is to finish the work on the general plan and make sure that it gets complete and approved the way we have started it out to be. That we're not going to dilute this thing down because this is our lifeblood. And there's lots of pressures right now, a lot of uncomfortable people with how they view the direction we have taken this general plan in. And the pressure is to turn it back into residential, which I'm totally opposed. We need to continue to get this approved so that we can create the professional office commercial designations that we have designated, especially up around near the hospital. And this is key and important so that we can implement our strategic economic development strategy, which will address our short, medium, and long-term employment needs. We're going to bring jobs to the city, but we have to make sure that the land is there and the zoning is in place so that that will be successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's hear from Rick Gibbs.
Murrieta's status as the second safest city in the nation is a snapshot in time and needs constant attention. In 2005, the incumbents at the time put together a 5-year plan. That 5-year plan has now expired. It's time for a new 5-year plan. We need to ensure that we have the right number of police officers, that their equipment is what they need, and that their training is adequate. The same goes for the fire department. The root of all good things for Murrieta is to maintain our status as a very, very safe city.
Thank you. Douglas Gibbs.
First priority is economic development, and that the key to economic development in the city is businesses, bringing businesses in. How do you do that? You entice them to come to the city by reducing fees and streamlining the process. Now, this city council has streamlined the process somewhat. It is better than it was, but there's still more work to be done. And when you start bringing in businesses, and people say, well, wait a second, you're cutting fees, you're going to hurt revenue. No, when you cut fees and entice businesses to come in, revenue increases. And included in economic development is also to address some land use issues. We're having some issues with residential and in the commercial sectors where there's land use issues, and some of them involve environmental issues. Our city is handcuffed because they depend on state funds, and so they do what the state tells them to do and the county tells them to do. And you know what? We can work with these businesses. We can work with the citizens, and we can keep from taking away parts of property and let them develop as they need to. Thank you.
Okay. Kelly Bennett.
A council member's first duty to the community is to protect public safety and provide public safety. That is the number one priority for me, like Councilmember Gibbs. We must, in the next 4 years, continue to guard the finances so we ensure that the levels of police and fire services are adequate to meet the needs of the community. While we are the second safest city in the nation, we want to maintain that. Not only should we maintain it, we should seek to surpass it and become the safest city in the nation. We've got a number of threats that our community is facing, and it goes through a statewide level. One example of that is the early release of prisoners back into the communities. Our police will tell you they see increases in crime as that occurs. We need to be advocates against things like that directly affect our public safety. Look to continue to provide our police and fire enforcement tools in ordinances such as the sexual predator ordinance that we just passed to toughen up and fill in the gaps that Jessica's Law left. And additionally, through public safety, we need to look for more prevention programs so that we can really lock, guard, and create a safe community. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Vonbar.
My first priority to the city would be, like others have said, to public safety. I know that in the past several years, our fire and police departments were able to build their forces. Unfortunately, in the recent past, they've lost a little bit of ground due to either vacancies not being refilled or retirements. As I understand it, there's not currently a budget to refill those positions. I'd like to revisit that. I think that we should be refilling those and at least maintaining our current levels or what was current in the recent past, and helping them because the crime rate has gone up and the demand for their service has gone up. So that would be absolutely the highest priority for me at this point.
Thank you. Alan Long.
Thank you. All of these matters start with leadership, and that's where I would start. I would make sure that our leadership has assembled a team that can, first of all, look at our budget, look at the taxpayers' money, and scrutinize every line item budget for efficiency and necessity. You deserve to know where your money is going and if it's going in the proper places. Public safety would be priority in that leadership team. We need to make sure we hire a fire chief that has medical services in his background or her background to make sure the quality of medical services in this city doesn't become hampered once again. We have a new hospital coming in. It is building a hospital that is 20 years in the future, and I want to make sure it stays that way and it doesn't go backwards. Police departments need to have proactive policing activities. These are all goals that leadership needs to set as a priority, and that's where it starts. We need to make sure we have a leadership who has a team that can assemble all of these things. Also part of that team would be making sure that the current residents and businesses that currently live in the city get their fair share of City Hall's time. Thank you.
Thank you. And Amelia Reichner.
I would like to say that I am totally here for the people of Murrieta, and what we need is jobs. I have met so many people who have lost their jobs, and let's admit it to ourselves, living in California is very expensive compared to other states. I say we call on big, large corporations, and we invite them to come to our city. We have a beautiful foundation for businesses and corporations. We have great communities, we have parks, we have modern streets and traffic lights. We need corporate America here in Murrieta to give our people jobs so they can maintain their homes and their taxes and their high mortgages. People need jobs. There's too many families here who have young people who are coming out, who are graduating from high school, and they cannot get a job at fast food places because we have adults working in fast food places. We have too many retail jobs here. We have strip malls after strip malls empty. We need businesses here, and if we have to do satellite offices for large American corporations, let's do it. Let's bring business to Murrieta and save our community.
Thank you. Okay, the city of Murrieta has grown from a small rural community to one of more than 100,000 residents with more than 28 square miles. First, what should be the focus of the city's general plan? And two, what is the right size for the city of Murrieta? And let's start with Gary Tomasian.
Well, I think if you take in our sphere of influence to the east, we're about 32 acres, 32 square miles.
Oh.
So it is imperative that our city, in order to become self-sufficient and be able to pay for all of the programs that we offer, and we offer a plethora of wonderful programs to our citizens, we need sales tax, and sales tax dollars is what drives everything, and that is what I would call living within our means. So in order to hire the additional 20 officers and additional support staff, we're going to need, and the money comes right out of our general plan, out of our general plan. We're talking about general plan, but out of the general budget. So it is imperative that if we're talking about business, we're talking about increasing the sales tax, and we not only increasing sales tax, but we're not increasing any kind of taxation to the residents. So creating that diverse economy is going to take business. We do have a strategy in place. We have created that framework, and the next 4 years we're going to put meat on those bones.
Thank you. Let's move now to Rick Gibbs.
The focus of the general plan is to ensure that we preserve the land for the future of Murrieta. The future is based upon economic development. To attract the large corporations that Amelia referred to, we need to make sure that the land is available. Currently, we are rezoning the land around the northeast corridors, around Loma Linda University Medical Center, Murrieta, and also the land on the Jefferson Street corridor. We have a plan in place to attract large businesses. Now what we need to do is execute, and we're trying.
Thank you. Douglas Gibbs.
I remember when Murrieta was that rural community. I remember those fields and all of that. And I watched it grow, and my kids went to bungalow schools, and the traffic got difficult, and the city grew rapidly, and the government didn't grow with it. The general plan, it took, 15 years before they decided to redo it. And the city looks nothing like that general plan estimated it would. So part of what we need to do is when we set apart a plan, we need to stick to it. We need to follow that plan. And what needs to be in that plan, of course, is economic growth, because a vibrant and strong economy is a growing economy. And so we must continue to grow. be it through businesses, as Mr. Tomasian was talking about, bringing in more sales tax with more growth, be it biotech businesses, high-tech businesses, or the small mom and pops. They're all important. But we need to do the things that it takes to entice them to come. Once again, as I was speaking about earlier, making the process easier, plan check, an easy process to go through, reduced fees, and a smile across the counter. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly Bennett.
Well, our general plan update is near completion, and I believe my colleagues, Mr. Tomasi and Mr. Gibbs, have stated appropriate focuses of the general plan. It's about compatible land uses. It's about preserving a balance of open space with the development that we need, creating shovel-ready opportunities for future employers to come in particular in the medical corridor along the Loma Linda University 215 corridor, as well as along the education corridor that Councilmember Gibbs mentioned on Jefferson. Those EIRs have been required and requested by the City Council through the general plan update, and we hope to seize on those opportunities. The second part of the question was, what size should the city be? Well, we're near development on the residential end. We're near completion there. The focus needs to be bringing in and expanding our current employers and bringing in additional employers to meet the workforce opportunities. We also have the potential to annex several hundred acres to the east of Loma Linda University Medical Center for a potential 4-year university. So if we expand the borders of the city, that's what it should be. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Bombar.
The focus of the general plan, and I agree with the previous two speakers, that it really does need to be the balance. A general plan is the roadmap for the city's growth. It has various elements that really need to balance. Some of the elements, in case anybody is unfamiliar with the general plan, are public safety, land use, traffic, utilities, air quality, housing, noise, and economic development. You might have missed a thing or two, but they're very technically looked at and balanced. If you add more housing, it throws off air quality. If you add, higher density commercial, it might affect traffic. Those things have to really work together so that we can maintain our quality of life. I believe that we need to take our time and get it right. That should be the focus, is getting it right the first time, not having to come back and redo it. As far as the right size, I think we need to overcome the current budget issues, and then once we are on our feet and have the ability to support and pay for the tax on services, on city services by incorporating land, then that's when we should look at doing that.
Thank you. Alan Long.
Yeah, the general plan is the needs of today and tomorrow both need to be considered. I like to say we need to protect our heritage but provide for our future at the same time. What no one has mentioned is the general plan needs to be a clear vision and have a consistent interpretation. But the vehicle by which you get there is a development code, and it also needs to be overhauled because it needs to parallel our general plan. If you have a development code that dictates how you build and what your building looks like, but it doesn't parallel the general plan, we're going to be in the same situation we were in with the last general plan. We didn't end up anything like it said we should end up because our development code was compromised time and time again. We're still catching up from that. We have rapid growth in the city. We are plagued by traffic. We need to keep in mind that those issues such as traffic, uncontrolled growth, lack of public safety, and overcrowded schools have the potential to undermine Murrieta's future if we don't consider those with every policy we create and we approve. Thank you.
Thank you. Amelia Reichner.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, what should be the focus of the city's general plan, and what is the right size for the city of Murrieta?
I believe the focus of Murrieta's general plan should be that we should have completed our residential growth, which, we have a numerous of housing developments here, and I think it would be the economic part of it. We were not voted, but we are the second safest city in the Riverside County, Los Angeles cities comparably. So I think, we could give ourselves complements to that. I think our safety as well is very good, but economic growth is number one, I would see Murrieta. And also with the economic development that we have had in the past, some of the projects have not come forth and delivered. For example, like our furniture row. I mean, it's really sad and decapitated in a sense where you have these beautiful structures, but there's no economic there. People aren't shopping. So I think economic development. Thank you.
Thank you. And David Landrashina.
To avoid being redundant, I want to encapsulate everything the prior 7 have said. I'm in total alignment and agreement. And I'd like to also bring up a fact that Murrieta, is resilient in the fact that, when we first moved here, we had to voluntarily give back our fire engine. And we bounced back from that. And the community has the talent in terms of, our population that lives there. And we have a very talented staff, and we're working through a contraction in the economy. We're making adjustments. As you well know, the city is furloughed on Fridays, and they took a 5% pay cut. So for us, as we go in, they have made the most effective use of our general sales fund revenues. What we have to do now is look to expand as the economy expands. And with that, the forecast is for 4 times the current truck traffic on the 215 by 2025. So we've reached a point where we have to have regional traffic flow patterns and technology upgrades, to manage that as well. So we need to work regionally as well as in our city.
Thank you. Okay, where do you stand on Murrieta's ballot measures, which would limit council and city employee pay and would institute term limits to 2 consecutive terms for council members, and why? Let's start with Rick Gibbs.
Measure C is for term limits. In the last 4 elections, 33 people ran for office. All 5 incumbents, all 5 council member seats changed hands. This is a solution in search of their problem to an engaged electorate. Measure D, that's limiting my compensation. I make $3.75 an hour. Enough said about that. Measure E, if you take away the ability of the city council to set compensation at a competitive Southern California market, this will kill the city of Murrieta, pure and simple.
Thank you. Douglas Gibbs.
I support all 3 initiatives, C, D, and E, and I have from the very beginning. C, the term limits, is a great plan. If the seats are changing, then it's no big deal if it's in place or not from their point of view. But I believe it's important because it does ensure that we have a change of hands every once in a while. The nice thing about C, though, is like as I mentioned earlier, it's 2 consecutive terms, 1 term off, and hey, if you're that good, run again. You took your term off. Of course, if you're that good, maybe you should go to county or state, too. D and E, they limit the salaries and stipends of the city council and administrative officials. D, limiting the stipends and salaries of the city council is important because I believe that the founding fathers did believe that we should be compensated for our services, but that our compensation should not be a motivator. This will it would eliminate the perks of insurance, but on the same token, it would make sure that our people are running for the right reason for the city. There is a compensation. There should be a compensation, but it shouldn't be so high that it's a motivator. And didn't have time for E. Thank you, sir.
Kelly Bennett.
On C, term limits, that takes away the right of the voter to select the candidate of their choice. If after 2 terms, the best candidate for the job happens to be someone seeking a 3rd term, we should not insult the intelligence of our voters. If they want that candidate in place, they should have the opportunity to vote for them. This is a democracy. On Measure D, the council member pay. Council members, as Mr. Gibbs indicated, we average about $3.75 an hour. If you think money is a motivator for what we do, I'd like you to enlighten me on that one. The formula that has been proposed under the council member pay is to tie it to the median household income of our residents. That is an incentivization for greed. If I were a greedy council member and I wanted to really up my pay under that formula, I'd make sure that we got out all the low-income earners and made sure we had a Beverly Hills in the city of Murrieta, because my pay would go up significantly. That doesn't make sense. Initiative E, the city manager and department head pay. That jeopardizes our public safety because there's a 5% required differential. As soon as we need to hire a fire chief and a police chief, if the city manager is only making $110,000, $120,000 a year, the police chief and fire chief will have to make substantially less. You get what you pay for. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Baumbar.
Thank you. I believe on the term limits, I have enough confidence in the residents of our city that they will vote in who they want and vote out who they no longer want. And I wouldn't want to take away the ability to keep somebody who's doing a great job and everybody's happy with. On Measure D, City Council pay, I totally agree. There is absolutely no incentive. And if you need $600 to do this kind of a job, I don't know. That's just kind of ridiculous in my mind. As far as department heads and city manager, I've worked for 3 city managers, and the current pay in my mind is in line with what it should be. It's competitive. I would be deathly afraid personally to work for somebody that made $100,000 as a city manager for a city of our size. It's a demanding job, and it deserves what we're paying now.
Thank you. Alan Long.
Term limits, it's been said, Murrieta voters vote, they pay attention, they're extremely active. I would not be in favor of stripping their rights to choose their council member. Measure D, city council pay. I don't know if anyone's done this formula, but according to my calculations, it would give me a pay raise, and my take-home pay would be more with this measure, and I'm not in favor of getting council a pay raise. City manager pay, again, you get what you pay for. I believe someone should get paid what they're worth. And if you take this formula and you apply it to other cities that have a high median income, for example, a Beverly Hills or Santa Fe, you have a potential there to pay a city manager $1 million salary for managing a bedroom community that does not have the challenges and the complexities like a city of Murrieta. I would say no on all the measures. Thank you.
Thank you. Amelia.
I support the Murrieta initiatives. Just to give you a little information, the Senate leadership majority party leader makes $193,000 a year. City manager Murrieta makes $210,000. The Speaker of the House, $223,000. I don't think the city manager's job is that great of a job when you have the average family incomes in Murrieta around $60,000. And I think we need people not here for a salary. We need here people who want to be here, want to see the city prosper. And with the initiatives, once they make a difference in the revenues of our city, they can get more money. But let's keep it real. Let's not things get out of hand. I mean, I think with the initiatives, Murrieta is on the forefront of making something happen in the state of California because too many people have been misusing our tax dollars. And, you know, if people would run for election, and a lot of Murrieta residents don't pay attention to these smaller elections, so it is kind of hard to keep people on the up and up and keep people informed. So I do vote and support the initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you. David Mandrashina.
I would like to direct my comment to the 2 self-proclaimed constitutionalists. The Constitution means rule of law. And to the best of my knowledge, from what I've studied, and the Constitution, the only office with term limits is the President of the United States. Except for California, of course, in Sacramento, we have term limits for our legislature. And we see how efficient that's working. I would say that I have faith in the individual, and it's their choice to decide who serves. As far as the stipends go, That's not an issue, so I'm not going to even address it. I think everyone's done a good job on that. With the city staff and the city manager in particular, you know, they're going through contract negotiations. Police and fire have gone along with the city manager's request to delay their pay raises until the expansion begins. Now that takes confidence, folks. Our public safety people have put confidence in our city manager's ability to forecast future events. And so they've laid it on the line, and I think we need that, and our residents deserve that.
Thank you. And Gary Tomasian.
You know, freedom of choice is what this country was founded on, and to be able to take that away, you're taking away your right to strive for excellence. So to limit that, we're not going to progress. As voters, you know, you will limit your choices. To be able to run a city, you definitely will limit your choices there. It does have a trickle-down effect to all of the employees that will be working for our community. And to not to be able to compete, especially in a free market society, I mean, that's a death knell. So it makes no sense. If there was some sweeping legislation that every city in the country was on the same level playing field all at the same time, yeah, then let's talk about it then. But for right now, it's a bad choice. I would be voting no for all three. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's do one more question before we move on to closing statements. With property tax revenues likely to recover slowly, where can the city cut spending? Let's start with Douglas Gibbs.
Many places cut spending. You know, I heard about this issue, and this isn't in the city, this is a state, but there was a state agency that was deemed with the job to confiscate furniture, to burn it, to find out how fast it would burn. It was based on 1970s technology. Since then, we have had, of course, advancements, but yet the agency still existed. And I exist, and I wonder where in the city are similar functions where it's either obsolete, no longer necessary, or one person could do the job of three people. Interestingly enough, Temecula has a much larger industrial base, but yet they run that city with about half the employees. So I'm just wondering, how much can we cut when it comes to city staff? Now, because I believe that limited government, though, does protect our rights and our property, when it comes to police, fire, and emergency services, that's one place I would not cut. But to cut spending, it comes down to the building and safety functions, it comes down to the planning functions, it comes down to also bringing in new business so we can increase revenue simultaneously. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly Bennett.
In the last year, the city cut about $9.5 million out of its budget and worked very hard to do so. I think as long as demand remains low in particular areas for particular departments, the way we cut spending is we keep non-critical positions that are currently open unfilled until the demand increases. I think the other way that we cut spending is we look for particular job needs that we've got, and we share those positions with other cities. We've done that with several analysts, and it's worked out very well. That's why it's very important to have good relationships with our sister cities, and those are the most efficient ways to cut spending in the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Bombar.
Thank you. It's really tough. The city just went through budget cuts, and there was a lot of hits taken by different departments. I don't think there's a lot left. I completely disagree that we have a lot more staff than Temecula. I know that personally. It's absolutely the opposite. I think that maybe we need to get creative with where we find money rather than looking to cut more. It's unfortunate to have to cut services. We've recently gotten some grant money. I think we can do a better job at that. I think there should be more effort put into applying for grants, because we actually have a good opportunity to get a lot more money. If it comes down to it, we may have to go back and look again at non-essential services. It may affect some recreation services or things like that, but in lieu of, losing more police, fire, or other essential services, I think that's the hard decision that may have to be made in the future, and hopefully that won't happen.
Thank you. Alan Long.
Like I said, we need to scrutinize each budget line item for efficiency and necessity and ask the question, do we really need that? Is that government's function to provide that particular service? One other way is through retirements. We can cross-train employees so there's no jobs lost, but the position goes unfilled. That employee just has an opportunity to fill a different position in a different capacity within the city. We can cross-train those employees. As Mayor Bennett mentioned, I think job sharing is extremely efficient at saving money. With the demand low in certain departments such as planning and processing right now, because there's not much development going on, why aren't we sharing those positions with another city? That needs to be explored more with each city. Also, I believe technology can save money. Why do you have to see a counterperson for simple permit processes or licensing fees? Those can be done on the computer, online, with the technology available today. Thank you.
Thank you. Amelia Reichner.
I believe one way we could cut spending for the city is the city council expenditures. Last year or this year was $255,000. I believe how the city is run, for example, the uses of water, electricity, staffing, those types of ways we can save money as well. I know the city has done well, the council has done well in cutting their budget, and I would give props to that. But I believe there's always ways of saving money, but most of all, we need to create income and create more revenue for the city, and that would be business expansion and also possibly going green for the city of Murrieta. Thank you.
Thank you. David.
Again, I don't want to be redundant. I'm in perfect alignment with the incumbents and the other candidates on every aspect about effectiveness and overall efficiencies. And like Susan said, I think they've reached that point where they can't really cut back much more. So here's what I propose, and I know Alan's talked about needing leadership. Yeah, it's going after the entrenched interests and the status quo, but folks, we get 1% of our sales tax revenue. And personally, that bothers me. Anything men do, men can change, or ladies for that matter, in a legislative capacity. We need to lobby Sacramento, get the whole state on increasing the percentage we get. We get 1% out of the 7 3/4. I'm not calculating for the recent tax increases we just received from Sacramento that extended that extra. It's like 8.5 now. But basing on the 7 3/4% we've had for years, I would like to see if we were to give all our cities, which the state legislature has an interest in, an extra 1%, that would double their income from their general plan zoning that created the revenue in the first place.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to Gary Tomasian.
I helped to create a budget process that started now with a zero-based budget. And every department starts with nothing and then has to justify for each of their expenditures. And in so doing, they have saved in expenditures of over $5 million. We now have a 2-year budget cycle so that we now will manage by quarter, if not even on a daily or weekly basis, where the money is coming in and how it's tracked. We actually do cross-train. We have taken 2 of our building and safety officials, and it's slow in that department. We cross-train them and use them in our code enforcement because we've had a large increase in foreclosure. So instead of laying those individuals off, we put them into code enforcement. We do hire out and share employees from other cities. So we have taken a very proactive approach. You definitely need employees to run a city so that there are services to the residents. So when people come in, they want to talk to somebody. They don't want to be on a computer. They want to be able to have face-to-face contact. Thank you.
And Rick Gibbs.
For the last 3 years, Murrieta has been cutting back. We have taken measures, large and small, to ensure that we reduce our expenditures. We have taken our employees and not filled 25 positions over the last 2 years. We have eliminated 7 temporary positions, and regretfully, we have laid off 13 people. Murrieta's government is lean and limited. We have 118 full-time employees that are not public safety for a city of 101,000. When Mr. Gibbs referred to Temecula having a lot less employees than we do, that's because they do not have their own police and fire departments. We have taken the appropriate steps to reduce our budget and will continue to do so in the future.
Okay, now it's time for closing statements. You will all have 1 minute, and we're going to go in reverse ballot order. So we're going to start with David Landrashina.
Well, folks, for me, I've been on what I don't just call this a campaign, I call it a public relations campaign as well. It's not just a political campaign. It's about developing a partnership of trust with the residents so that they have confidence in what we will do to improve the quality of their lives and to deliver on what their expectations are. Of course, within reason and practical. The practicality of business development does contend with the issue of a slow economy at this time. We also have other goals. And as we come out, as the economy expands, and as everyone has indicated, they're going to go line for line looking at things. We'll set the priorities the public has given us through the surveys that they have provided us, recommending, and again, this is in reference to our land use. We just recently went through general plan updates. Our residents want parks and recreation. They want new businesses that are green and also, new technology type. And we also have a senior community that we have to be concerned about, and I'd like to see an advisory committee for them. I know we have different levels of that now. We have a senior center, and we take care of their needs that way.
Thank you. Alan Long.
Prior to becoming a city, Murrieta provided me a quality of life that can only be rivaled on television shows now. We had miles of trails, flowing streams, and abundance of open space all at our doorsteps. Murrieta is much different now. Our needs are much different now. Murrieta is maturing, but we still can protect some of that heritage and provide for the future. I believe in community development. Jobs, open space, and development can be done cooperatively. Each of these improves a certain aspect of our quality of life. Together, they create the synergy that complement each other. With a clear and concise vision supported by a consistent interpretation, Murrieta can bring quality development to the city of Murrieta. My family has children, parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents living within the city. Murrieta is my home. It always has been, and it always will be. My name is Alan Long. I'm a husband, father, fire captain, paramedic, commissioner, coach, and I want to be your next council member.
Thank you. Susan Bombar.
Thank you. I guess, in order for you to know who I am, I guess you'd have to ask those who do know me. If you ask any of them, they'll tell you that I'm a very straightforward person, and I will tell you exactly what I think, like it or not. And if I don't like something, I will work at changing it. And I think that's what we have to do on this panel. I'm not going to do it for friendship or for political purposes, but for the good of the city. I think that that's what we need. I think I know that I understand what my friends and neighbors want from our city, and I think I can help, based on my experience and education, I can help get us there.
Thank you. Kelly Bennett.
Thank you. Serving on the council is about listening to the people's needs, responding to their needs, and being a strong advocate for their needs. In 2006, the people elected me to bring change to Murrieta and opportunities to the city. Through proactive leadership, through collaboration, through a lot of hard work, we've made that happen. As your councilwoman and this year as mayor, again, my focus is on responsive representation for our residents and our businesses. Through my 4 years of service, I've worked hard to keep our city safe, to respond to our community needs, to advocate for our businesses and jobs, and to keep this city fiscally strong. I'm running for re-election so that we can continue the great progress that we've made despite the worst recession this nation has seen in 80 years. Service to the city is a privilege, and it's very rewarding. So I would be honored to have your vote and to serve as your councilwoman for another 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Douglas Gibbs.
City council makes, as a salary, $600 a month, plus with all of the perks, it comes out, with the addition of the value of the perks, comes out to about $1,700 a month. Last year's additional expenditures, and this was hard to find, but it was found, came out to $255,000 for the entire council, which is about $51,000 per council member. I figure that's for like trips for conventions in Vegas or something. The city manager, according to Amelia, makes $210,000. That's actually wrong. That's what the city tells you. KFI did some research, KFI Radio, and they found that he makes $247,000. I'm wondering why there was that discrepancy there. That's why I support Measures D and E. And that's one of the primary reasons I'm running, because something's broke and it needs to be fixed. And we have, folks that, they've done a fine job, but they're not statesmen. I'm a citizen statesman. I don't want to be a politician, but I do want to fix what's broke. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick Gibbs.
Council members' job is to listen to our citizens, to respond to their needs, and to solve their problems whenever possible. I have done that. I am proud that there are a large number of citizens in the city of Murrieta who I have been able to help. Ladies and gentlemen, I have honored my commitments to our residents, and I will deliver on my promises in the future. I thank you for allowing me to be a temporary occupant of City Hall for these last 4 years.
Thank you. Gary Tomasian.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting, but I value my independence as probably the greatest asset that I bring to the city of Murrieta, that I am an independent. I hold no allegiance. I have no voting block. I have not taken any campaign developer money for this campaign or when I was elected in 2006. I feel that the perception about that kind of, with that money is something that I just wanted to steer away from. And I am an independent. But I am here to work on behalf of the citizens. We have great citizens in Murrieta. They have come to expect a quality of life that is second to none, which I will continue to work on and bring forward during the next 4 years. We have absolutely laid the foundation and a framework to bring this city forward and bring us out of the darkness where we were 4 years ago. So we have accomplished a lot. We have achieved great recognition in Southwest Riverside County. Investors definitely have confidence in us, and we do have a stable local government and want to be able to continue and contribute to that. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Amelia Reichner.
I, Amelia Reichner, will promise to uphold the Constitution of the United States and to stand firm for Murrieta taxpayers and voters in Riverside County. Keeping it real as possible, with 15% unemployment, the Inland Valley needs a diamond, and that diamond is Murrieta. I will stand strong for the local residents and local small businesses and to bring Murrieta back its glory in bringing jobs and prosperity to our community, and also transparency within our government. I strongly support the Murrieta initiatives for limited compensation for our city council member budgets, compensation for our city managers, and term limits, because we are a city of law and we need to uphold the Constitution and bring transparency for our residents of our city. Please vote for me, Amelia Reichner.
Thank you, and thank you, candidates. I'm going to turn it over now to Nels.
All right, thank you very much to Dr. Stacy Searle Chapin, our moderator. And thank you very much to our candidates, our audience here in the auditorium, and our audience on PE.com. Just a reminder that this forum, along with the other 25 forums we're doing this week, is available on demand on the election road trip area of the politics area, the PE.com. We would also like to thank our staff members, Angel Ortiz and Louis Amistoy. Also a reminder, on November 2nd, we will be doing a live election show. We encourage you to vote, and we encourage you to tune in afterward, and those results always seem to trickle in ever so slowly, so we'll have a recap show on November 3rd as well. We'd like to thank our sponsors, the Beaumont Cherry Valley Recreation and Park Department, Mount San Jacinto College, and the Press Enterprise. I'm Nels Jensen. Thank you very much.